ever create a plan and then you're tired just looking at the plan? If you've got a big project that you want to get out in the world, maybe you feel like you have to hustle endlessly and burn yourself all the way down to the ground in order to make it happen. And I want to suggest a different approach. At any given moment, 25% of us are in burnout, and 42% of us are just recovering from burnout. Sustainable visibility is the way. Aligned message, chosen platform, and boundaries. I am 15 years into my entrepreneurial journey, and the reason why I am is because I've learned to pace myself. Here are some millionaire moves for you to do. Always do the math equation of, is this worth it? And the math will tell you. Lean in if you really want to know how to sell something. Let me give you my number one marketing secret. Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers. Today, I'm so excited to talk to you about how I sold the shit out of my first book, but I also burnt myself all the way out. So I want to tell you how it can be done differently. If you've got a big project that you want to get out in the world, if there's important work that you want to be doing and you really want it to be as successful as possible, maybe you feel like you have to hustle endlessly and burn yourself all the way down to the ground in order to make it happen. And I want to suggest a different approach and tell you about a different way to do things, because I have a new book out, Future Millionaire, and I will not be doing what I did with book number 1 with this book. So let's talk about it. And let's talk about how we get our projects out into the world without burning ourselves out. When my first book came out, I wanted to be a successful author. I wanted to be a best-selling author. I wanted to hit all the important lists. And I really wanted this book to get in as many people's hands as humanly possible. And in order for this work, right, to reach a lot of people, I needed to add some force to it. I needed to add some momentum, right? When we have an object that is not moving, right? So if you already have an engine going, then you need some force to get it going. And so I intended to be that force, okay? That brute force. And I did everything that any article that was ever written on the internet about launching a book said to do. I did it. I did all of it collectively. And it was a lot. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the things that I did. So I got myself a publicist, and I actually hired a publicist early. So we had time to get the press engine rolling and to introduce me to different media outlets so that they would already know me when the book comes out and they would ask me back, right? And so that was part of it. And it was like, that was a strategic thing to do. It was a slow and steady thing where I was consistently doing media pretty much every week. For months leading up to the book launch, right? And it revved up as we got closer and it got more strategic and specific, okay? So lots and lots of press. That was one element that I committed to make my book a success. What else did I do? Well, my publisher told me that I needed to do, book launches with bookstores. So I partnered with some bookstores to do a virtual book tour because We Should All Be Millionaires came out in 2021 during the pandemic. And so going on a book tour was just not an option. So I went on a virtual book tour, which definitely easier because I have since been on a physical book tour. The virtual book tour is easier, maybe not as much fun as being in person. And so I did a virtual book tour and I partnered with bookstores. And I thought that it was the bookstore's job to sell all the tickets for the event. And I thought that that's what they were going to do when we partnered with them. And that is not the case. Really, I needed to share this with my audience and get it in front of my audience, which I did. But that the book tour, I won't say it wasn't successful. We had hundreds of people come to pretty much every stop. And I had friends of mine who were successful, had their own audience be a part of it. I will tell you, the virtual book tour, even though it wasn't a in-person physical book tour, took so much time to plan. It was an enormous undertaking. It was a lot of effort, and it sold a lot less books than I thought were possible. And that's not anyone in particular's fault. It's just like I was a newbie and didn't know what to expect. And I thought that this enormous undertaking was going to deliver thousands upon thousands of books sold, and that is not what happened. So that was a lot of effort that had I the choice to do it again, I don't know that I would choose that, or I would do it definitely so differently. I think partnering with local independent, especially Black owned, women owned, minority owned bookstores is so important to any book launch, it's so important to partner with local bookstores. It's so important to support local bookstores. But the way it can be done can be simpler and easier. And I've since learned better ways to do it. Okay. So that was one of the things that we did that was like, oh my God, so much time. I also did speaking. So I was traveling and speaking on stages. And sometimes I was talking to people who really were not the right fit for my message. And so I was telling them, and a lot of times, some of the women in the audience would come up to me afterwards, and they honestly, I've been to a few places that I spoke where I felt like the audience wasn't really responding, like they're not laughing at my jokes. I don't know if they're really feeling this. And then afterwards, a lot of people would come up, like once they got separated from their bosses, this was at corporate events, they would come up to me after and be like, tell us everything, now that we're out of earshot from the managers and the supervisors. And so some of that was just a lot of effort, and I definitely got to reach new people, but I don't know that it was the most efficient way to reach more people. Another thing that I did was podcasts. So I appeared on as many podcasts as humanly possible. I think I recorded at least 60 podcast episodes during my book launch phase. That is a lot of guest podcasting. If you consider at least an hour for every interview, right? That's 60 hours of content recorded. And it took me a couple of months. I spent a few months recording all those episodes, and I was not as strategic with when those episodes came out, how they dropped out, and like how they played a role in the book launch. They did play a critical role, but it could have been smarter, right? It could have been done better. And it's just because I didn't know better, right? So I just was brute forcing everything. So I was doing photo shoots for the book. I did a video like trailer about the book. I wrote blog posts and newsletters for my audience regularly. I created content on social media about the book. I mean, I literally just did everything possible to get this book out in front of more people. And I was just going nonstop. Okay. We also got to put the book in a retailer that will not be named because there's a big boycott related to that retailer right now. But the book was featured in that retailer back in 2021. And I got to do a video trailer that appeared in their like video section of the store. So that was another thing that we did. So we just did so many things, so much effort, long list of things. And we were getting closer and closer to the book coming out, and the pre-launch numbers were not where I wanted them to be yet. And so I was like, you know what? Here's what I want to do. What I always do, right, to sell things is I teach, right? I teach first, and then if people are interested, they like what they learned and they want to continue, they can, buy something from me, like a course or a training or my mastermind, to continue learning with me, right? And to continue to be a part of our community. And so I was like, what if I just teach, right? And so I decided to do what I called a tea party, right? Some of you may have attended. And it was basically, of course, I did it the most complicated way possible that required a lot of effort and setup. But I basically built a set in my office and essentially created my daytime talk show. Okay. And I literally was filmed like walking into the office, walking onto set, and then teaching these things from the book and interacting with the audience, answering questions from the audience. It was actually a lot of fun. Even though we did have some tech issues, but we solved them, and we had thousands of people attend that. And that event alone, that literal event alone, where the call to action was to buy 2 copies of the book, people bought 2 copies of the book to the point that we sold 3,000 copies of the book just from that one event. And I was like, the next time I do a book launch, I should literally just do this. Why don't I just teach to my audience and ask them to buy the book? Like, that is so much easier than all this other stuff that I did, like this enormous to-do list that I had. And I know I'm forgetting things. Like, I know that there was even more things that I did that I can't even remember what they were because it's now a blur. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of lift. I also recorded the We Shall Be Millionaires course, which is the companion course to go with the book during the book launch season. And part of that course became the pre-launch bonus, right, for buying 2 copies of the book. So it was endless. And then once the book came out after Pub Day, there was just even more, media and even more interviews. And I remember the book came out May 5th, 2021. And I remember it's early June. And my publicist is still booking media for me. She got me on Good Morning America, all these great places, and it was all really exciting. And I said to her, no mas. Okay. I said, sis, I'm done. All right. Don't book another thing. Leave me alone. I'm going to the beach, never to be seen again. This book is my last contribution. Okay. Cause I am so done. And she was like, you can't say no to this. I mean, she was getting me amazing opportunities. And I literally was like, I do not care. Right. I am so tired. I don't care. I don't care if this book never sells again. Of course I did. But anyway, We Shall Be Millionaires went on to sell over 200,000 copies in his first year. And it continues to sell and continues to be, part of book clubs and all kinds of things. It is a perennial seller, which I'm so grateful for and so appreciative that people really love the book. Because here is the thing that I discovered that is the real ingredient to sell a book. Okay. Lean in if you really want to know how to sell something. All right. So maybe you are writing a book, maybe there's some other thing that you're creating and you really want to sell a lot of it. Let me give you my number one marketing secret. Listen up. If you're tired of setting the same income goals year after year and still coming up short, it's time to change the game. You know you're meant for more, but right now your business isn't moving like it should. You've got the talent, the skills, the ambition, but your bank account isn't reflecting that. That's where the Make Money Moves Challenge comes in. For 5 days, I'm giving you the exact strategies, mindset shifts, and money-making moves that have helped me and thousands of other entrepreneurs break out of the feast or famine cycle and start stacking real wealth. No more scrambling to hit your revenue goals, and no more waiting for the perfect time to go all in. You're getting daily action steps that will have you making more money immediately. This isn't a fluffy feel-good challenge. This is about building a business that actually pays you what you deserve. So are you in? If so, join me for our next challenge. Go to hello7.co/challenge to sign up now. Okay, are you ready? Okay, good. The secret is make it good. That is literally it. You know what sold the shit out of this book? The fact that it was good. It's a good book. So when people read it, they want to share it with people that they know. They want to do a book club around it. They buy copies for their clients. They buy copies for their friends and the people in their life. And literally just the fact that it was good sold a lot of copies. And I was like, who knew? I didn't have to hustle this hard. It was going to sell even if I just put it out there. Amazing, right? Of course, some marketing, some launching, some force is required at the beginning. But when we are selling a product, a service, whatever you want to get attention on, you got to ask yourself, like, what is the most strategic and efficient way to get this in the hands of the people who need it most, right? The people that I really want to serve. Let's ask those more strategic questions and be more efficient in how we approach things, because otherwise we are going to burn ourselves out. Because what happened? After the book launch, I went away for the summer, truly. Like, I barely did anything for the rest of the summer. I took almost the entirety of July off, most of August off. And whatever my team asked me to do, I was like, no, leave me alone, please. Right. And so, I spent so much time and effort working my ass off for truly 6 months to make the book a success. And then I had to take several months off of work, which meant that the momentum in my business from the book was great. But I really was burnt out, and it was hard for me to show up and deliver inside my business and inside, all the things that I do. Of course, I still did it anyway, but which meant the recovery took even longer, And so I have since discovered a better way, friends. And I want to share that way with you so that you don't have to be in pain. All right. I want to share that way with you so you don't have to do it the hard way. We have so much expectations to be constantly visible, to be perennially online, right? Where we're just constantly, last night I came into the podcast studio here and my best friend Robert was here. I Instacarted groceries on the way from the airport in the taxi because this is the mom energy that I bring, okay? Because I know there was no food in this fridge. And so as he's unpacking, maybe we'll share a clip of this. As he's unpacking the groceries, he's like, get a shot of me unpacking the groceries into the fridge. He's like, you know how the influencers do where they like organize all the things inside the fridge? You know which reels I'm talking about. You've seen those videos. Anyway, and I'm like, y'all, what is happening? Okay. We have gotten to a place where you wipe your nose, it needs to be filmed. Okay. And you need to have commentary about it. And I'm like, why does every moment of our lives need to be on camera? Like, it's not all that interesting. You know what I mean? So I want us to have a more strategic approach. Do you have to film everything that you ever do under the sun? No. Right? But do you need to film some things? Do you need to do some marketing? Yes, you do. Right? So let's talk about how we can be more efficient with our selling and how I'm approaching my Future Millionaire book launch, right? Which is a completely different vibe. All right. And here's the thing that I want you to understand. One, hustle does not guarantee happiness, right? You can hit your goals and still hate how you got there. You could also hustle your heart out and still not hit your goals, right? Like, I was doing things in the book launch that were not very effective to sell thousands of books. And, I really wanted to be, a New York Times bestseller, truth be told. And we did not hit the New York Times list. Hustle doesn't guarantee anything, right? And does that mean you never hustle? No, there is a time and a place for some hustle, but let's have strategic hustle, efficient hustle, not brute force hustle, which is what I was subscribing to at the time. And also I will say too, the other thing I want you to know is doing it all yourself is very expensive. So if you try to do it, like I had a publicist, right? I had a team of people helping me execute the marketing, helping keep it all organized, helping to coordinate with the bookstores and, setting up speaking gigs and all of those things. If I did not have help, I wouldn't have made it. I would have made it to publishing day. I would have burnt out before I even got to the published day. Okay. And it doesn't all have to be financial. You can call on your friends. You can call on support, right? Like people in your life who will jump in to help you and support you that you don't necessarily have to pay every single person, or maybe you can do barters, but you may need to pay some people and it's worth it. Okay. So you need help. Right? Otherwise, it's going to cost you your peace, your creativity, your relationships, your health. According to Forbes, 42% of small business owners reported experiencing burnout in the past month, with 24% currently experiencing it right now. So at any given moment, 25% of us are in burnout and 42% of us, so the other half of us, are just recovering from burnout that they just experienced. Do you want to live like that? Do you want to live from burnout to burnout? Right? Where you just recover just enough to now be burnt out again. I don't know about you, but that sounds whack to me. Okay. There has got to be a better way. The other thing I want to say is visibility doesn't have to be overwhelming, right? Sustainable visibility is the way. Okay, my friends, aligned message, chosen platform, and boundaries, right? And saying, I'm going to show up with these messages on this platform in these ways. And that is it. You will not see me loading my fridge. You will not see me taking my kids to school. You will not see me doing my makeup. Okay. I'm not doing it. You know why? Because when I'm doing my makeup, I'm having a moment to like get my mind right, to listen to some music, to prepare myself for whatever it is I'm about to go do for the day. And every second of every moment does not need to be content creation. Okay. I love y'all, but you can't possibly want to see that much of me. I mean, at a certain point, isn't it too much? Aren't you saturated? Aren't you like, okay, enough of this chick at some point? Okay. All right. So let's be strategic with our visibility. Let's be strategic with our approach to get things out into the world. So let's talk about what I'm doing for the Future Millionaire book drop. So again, this book is not just for Gen Z, but anyone who needs a financial literacy education and understands that like the pathway that's been promised to us, it has not worked, right? The whole go to college, get a job, buy a house, be happy forever and ever is not working for most people. Many people can't even afford to buy a house. And so there's got to be a better way. And this book gives that guide. So of course, I feel very passionate. I spent many hours on this book pulling these resources together, teaching exactly how I invest, teaching exactly how I would start a side hustle, teaching my approach to a career, a new career, teaching the mindset pieces, all of the things, right? So obviously I want this to be in as many people's hands as possible, but will I be doing it the way that I did it for We Shall Be Millionaires? I will not. Okay. I will not hustle my little heart out. I will not exhaust myself. I created a book launch plan. I wrote it all out. And then I slashed half of the things on it and said, no, we're not doing that. Okay. We were going to go do a whole big book tour. And then I decided, you know what? People don't want to leave their houses. We don't need to do a book tour for this. And so we were going to do just all kinds of things, partnerships, all kinds of things that were just a lot of work and effort and energy. And I'm like, you know what I don't want to do? I don't want to do all that. What I want to do is just share the message of this book with as many people as possible. So I want to create content around it, which I'm doing right now, right? I want to create content so people understand what this book is about, get excited about it, and share that. Okay. I want to teach my audience the concepts from this book. And so I created Money Camp, which is our pre-order bonus. So I created an amazing incentive to buy the book, right? So instead of, touring around the whole country, which would have been awesome. And I probably will do a couple of appearances anyway, but the book tour that I was planning, it just like, you ever create a plan and then you're tired just looking at the plan? You're like, I'm so tired just reading this on the page. Can you imagine actually executing it, right? I just have a lot of other things going on. I'm in a season where things are busy, right? I have 2 kids graduating. I have, a move underway, right? I've got things going on in my life, my business. We're working on so many cool things. And so I didn't want to give up all of these other things. I needed this book launch to fit into my life. And so that's a tip as well. Like, think about, what capacity do I actually have to get this book out into the world, to promote this thing that I want to promote? What is my capacity? And what if you strategically designed your marketing plan based on your actual capacity, instead of coming up with all of these cockamamie, exhausting, over-the-top strategies that probably won't even work as well as you think they will, and you'll be exhausted in the process, okay? So, could I tour the country and would I have so much fun doing it and would it be a blast and amazing? Yes. Is there an easier way? Also, yes. Okay. So I chose to go with that. So instead of touring the world, I'm inviting y'all to hang out with me virtually so that you can join me from wherever you are in the world. So I'm doing a pre-order bonus called Money Camp, where I'm going to teach 5 key concepts from the book about building wealth, okay? And the wealth building journey. We're going to talk about side hustling. We're going to talk about investing. We're going to talk about your $1 million dream. Some key concepts from the book that I will be teaching. And then I'm also doing a Q&A with the audience every single day for 5 days, okay? It's happening May 12th through the 16th. And so that is creating a pre-order incentive is a way to encourage people to buy the book and give them an extra incentive to do so. That is one key element of my strategy. Another key element of my strategy is bulk orders, right? So I'm inviting people to buy several copies, right? Buy 25 copies for a classroom of high school students or college students or young people that could benefit from this book, right? So I'm inviting I got a lot of wealthy friends, right? I got a lot of successful entrepreneurs in my community and in my audience. I have a lot of people in my audience who love to give back. So I'm inviting them to be a future millionaire benefactor by donating 25 books or more, right? And so if they donate 25 books, they're going to get a shout out from me, and I'm going to shout out their business and let the world know that they are a future millionaire benefactor. They're also going to get a thank you from the classroom that they donate the books to. I mean, how special is that, right? And so if they order 100 books, I'm doing a really cool event, which is a networking event for entrepreneurs in New York City. And so if you order 100 copies of Future Millionaire, which gets 100 copies in the hands of high school and college students, so you could donate the books, right? And we will get them into the hands of high school and college students that we're partnering with. Or you can keep 100 copies and donate them yourself or give them out yourself, right? And so when you order 100 copies, you get invited to a networking dinner where I'm going to have some amazing entrepreneurial luminaries from New York City in the house. And we'll have a fabulous networking dinner for all of my benefactors to say thank you, right? For buying 100 copies and donating them, right? So I love this. It is a win-win-win, right? The person who buys the books gets celebrated, right? They get a shout out. They get a thank you from the class, right? From the students, but they also get to come to a networking dinner and connect with people, maybe create new partnerships and new opportunities for them, right? So it's a win for the donor. It's a win for the students, right? Who maybe otherwise could not afford this book. And now we're getting this book into their hands. These schools are also winning because now they've got financial literacy in the hands of their students, which is good for them, right? If they don't already have a financial literacy curriculum, or if this is adding to that curriculum, right? So it's a win for them. And it's a win for me because we're selling more books and we're getting more books into the hands of people. So I'm like, I already am connected to all of these wealthy people, right? And I'm also connected to, high school, like my high school in New York City, right? Where I would love to donate copies of the book. My college that I went to, which is just a few blocks from where we're at right now, I would love to get books in the hands of college students who need it. Okay. And so this is a win-win-win. And so how can you create a strategy? Use your creativity to create a strategy that is a win for all parties and not taxing on anyone. So the other cool thing is that I've also incorporated independent bookstores into this bulk order situation. So when people want to do a bulk order, they let me know, and then we partner with a local bookstore to process that book order, right? So we match the person who wants to buy a large amount of the books with a local bookstore to take that order. Instead of it going to Amazon or one of the big booksellers, right? We wanted to those book sales to be going to independent bookstores. So we get to support independent bookstores still without doing a whole complicated book tour. So that's a great way that we're going to get more books into the hands of people who need it. And then the third key piece is doing the press, right? So I am still doing podcasts, but I'm being much more selective. I'm specifically doing podcasts that are financial related or that are specifically moms of teenagers and young adults, or their audience, has a lot of people where they're either their aunties, their uncles, right, of young adults. And I'm also doing some Gen Z focused podcasts as well. So just we created a list and we pitched everybody that we really wanted to do. And of course, they didn't all say yes, but a lot of them did. And so I'm doing those podcasts, and then they're all going to drop the week of the book launch, right? So the week of the book launch and the week before. So that way everyone is talking about the book at the same time. And that's how I'm going to be a lot more strategic with it. Instead of just saying yes to everyone, being targeted with your yes, right? So you say yes to the ones that are actually, here's the thing. How many times are you saying yes to a marketing strategy or a marketing opportunity, and you don't even know if it's going to reach your ideal clients? And it's like, I'm just going to say yes to all of these things. And it's like, how many clients are you going to get out of this? How many people are going to know about your work because of this? Right? And if you don't ask that question, no, use that as a filter. How many new clients am I going to get? And you will actually want to weigh it. So if it's an hour of your time doing a podcast from home, that's a relatively low lift, right? It's not nothing, but it's not enormous, right? So let's say it's an hour of your time and you're going to get 10 new clients out of it. 100% worth it. 1 hour for 10 clients, done, right? But let's say you got to fly to Toledo, okay, and speak to an audience, right, about your book. And you're flying to Toledo, and only 50 people will be in the audience, and only half of those people will actually be your ideal clients. So now I'm flying to Toledo. I'm preparing a whole keynote. It's going to be hours of creating the slide deck, right? I'm going to get in Toledo. I'm going to be in front of 25 of my ideal clients, and only maybe 1 or 2 of them, right, will actually buy the thing, or take the next step. Not worth it. I got to do 10 plus hours of work and travel, et cetera, for 2 clients. No, right? Always do the math equation of, is this worth it? And the math will tell you. It will tell you the truth. So I've got some action steps for you to take. Here are some millionaire moves for you to do. We've officially rescheduled ROI The Millionaire Summit 2025. Join me, Hello 7, and hundreds of your newest business besties in Huntington Beach, California from June 17th through the 19th for 3 days of high-impact, high-caliber fun. Let me tell you why ROI The Millionaire Summit is happening at the perfect time. June is the ultimate mid-year reset. It's your chance to pause, reflect, and redirect your energy for the months ahead. By the time the summer rolls around, you've had 6 months of wins, lessons, and challenges. That makes June the moment to evaluate what's working and ditch what's not, and pivot for even bigger success in the second half of the year. I'm so excited to invite you to ROI 2025 this summer to reconnect with your vision and take $1 million action with me. Come to dream bigger, move boldly, and reconnect with your purpose. So if you're ready to realign with your vision, sharpen your strategy, and set yourself up for massive wins, ROI is where you need to be. Head to hello7.co/ROI to grab your ticket. One, I want you to audit your energy leaks, right? Reflect. Where are you doing the absolute most with the least return? Okay, just like we said, do that math equation on some of the marketing strategies that you are doing. And you could also do this for other things that you're doing in your life and business, right? What of those things are not worth it? What of those things are a lot of time and energy? And if you really look at it, you're not getting much return for that effort, okay? What's draining your time, energy, and creativity, okay? What is causing you to not have good ideas? Like if you spent less time going out into the world and going to all these events where not much comes of it, but you spent that time at home creating really targeted, amazing content that really reached your ideal clients and helped them learn about your product or service, would you get a better return? My guess is probably yes, right? So audit your time and really ask yourself, am I just wasting my time and doing a lot of work for no reason? Taking care of yourself is what makes this process sustainable. It makes it so that you will still be here in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. I am 15 years into my entrepreneurial journey. And the reason why I am is because I've learned to pace myself, okay? To get my sleep at night, to take my magnesium, okay? And get a good night's sleep, to go for a walk in the morning, and to spend time with my loved ones, to not have every inch of my life focused on work, right? That rest time, that enjoying your life, it is so critical to your long-term success. Okay, so pace yourself, friends. And so I want you to ask yourself, what could you pause or eliminate this week? What's one thing that you could look at your calendar and be like, let's not do that. That's not worth my time. So here's another stat. 49% of entrepreneurs said they have at least one mental illness, such as depression or anxiety. Another 1/3 said that they struggle with 2 or more. All right. So really take the time to take care of yourselves, because this journey is not easy, right? You're already doing something that most people don't. Most people are getting a paycheck that they can rely on, which makes a lot of sense. Okay. And entrepreneurs are choosing to eat what we kill. All right. If there's nothing to kill, we don't get to eat. Okay. So, just that alone, you're asking more of yourself. And when you ask more of yourself, you have to give more to yourself. Okay. To make the journey sustainable. All right. So now your first thing is audit your energy leaks. Then I want you to reimagine your success strategy. Ask yourself, does this version of success include rest, joy, and fun? Right? Does the path that you're on or the vision that you have created, are you robbing yourself of the success, joy, fun, rest that could be part of it? If not, it's time for a new model, right? If the version that you have invented, sometimes we create a pathway to getting where we want to go and we create the hardest one. That's what I did with We Should All Be Millionaires. I think I could have sold just as many copies, scaling it back a little bit, And so, let it be easy. It could be easier. It could be funner. Okay. Let it be. All right. So reimagine your success strategy. That includes rest and play. Okay. And a lot more joy. And then 3, plan your joy-focused visibility. Choose one platform that you really enjoy being on. Choose one core message that you really want to share and one aligned audience that you really want to speak to. Stop trying to talk to everybody. Speak to one ideal client. Okay. And then choose that hell yes space. If it's YouTube, great. If it's Instagram, great. If it's TikTok, great. But don't try to be everywhere. Just choose the place that you like showing up consistently and that feels fun for you. And let everything else be optional so that you don't put so much pressure on yourself to constantly overperform and wear yourself out. Okay, my friends? So here's the thing I want you to know. If you take nothing else from this episode, please understand that you don't need to suffer to succeed. And in fact, I would argue you're going to have a lot more success for a lot longer if you have more fun, if you have more play, if you have more rest. Now, is working hard a part of this equation? Absolutely. You do need to add some effort, right? Effort is required. Energy is required. Money, time, all those things have to be put in, but it doesn't have to be all of it, right? Okay? You don't have to be crawling on the floor across the finish line, all right? There is a better way. So in this season, I want to invite you to experience more joy, more alignment, more ease, right? And yes, still hit your goals, but hit the richest version of yourself, right? By, doing it your way and doing it in a way that feels good and feels fun. So that's what I have for you today, my friends. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Hello 7 podcast. Get your copy of Future Millionaire now, and I will see you in the next episode. You want to make more money? You are in the right place. Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers.